just from your computer to here, or how are you going to do this? You going to control it?
We didn't decide it yet, but
I think it'd be great if the maps would out.
yeah, it'd be better. It'd be better with Mac, but
I think it was going to be that we were going to work on the maps and then drag and drop it on a file as a PDF
Oh, yeah.
into that folder that is connected.
Oh,
And
is that what Ben said?
yeah, and the PC has to run it from there. So
I'll have a shared folder then set up for you guys, and I'll show you how to connect it from your Macs, and then you guys can connect all of them then. But I'll show you guys how to do it then. Okay. All right. The computer system, when you boot it up, it's going to come up, and there is no password, so you can just hit enter, and it's going to boot up. Okay. Then you have this shortcut here on the left, it's Navigator RIP. You're going to launch that. And if you ever get that license, it's their security that's holding it up. So if we go up here, if we just hit reinitialize, you shouldn't have to do this, but I think it's because of their security software that they put on here.
Every time we open this?
Well, you shouldn't have to, but sometimes it happens, but I think it's their security software that your IT people put on here. So now when I launch it, it launches. That's what it should have done the first time.
Let's see.
Okay, so it's coming up. All right, so this is the software where your jobs are going to come into here. And as long as this is disabled, it won't send the jobs over to the machine. So we'll come back to this later. I'm going to give you an overview on the machine itself, and then we'll go from there. All right, the machine itself. Watch yourself; you don't trip. Okay. The machine itself runs on 220 volts. This part. The printer itself, which is the part that makes the plates, it runs on 110. So over here you have 3 plugs. 2 of them are for the computer, and these 2 are for the computer, and this one is for this machine here. And then you have a 220 plug, 220 volts, which goes to this unit. Now the lower unit is basically a baking unit. So after the image is put onto the plate, you take the plate and you stick it down and you run it through there. And then when it runs through here, it bakes the image on, and it also puts gum on it. And then it comes out the back. So that's basically what's taking place.
We should maybe take the machine out a little bit, because when
It may be a little easier yet to
should
get.
we do it now?
We can move it.
Whenever, just go ahead and after we're done, maybe do.
Okay, we can do it then. All right, the machine itself should stay on all the time. And if it ever does get shut off, there's a power button right here. So right now it says ready, but this should stay on all the time. Okay, and the reason for that is because it is an actual inkjet printer that was converted to use a special fluid that they put on the plates. It's called liquid dot.
Yeah.
And you want this machine to be on all the time so that it'll do a routine cleaning to keep the nozzles from getting clogged.
Yeah. Just like other printers.
Right. This finishing unit here, if you pop this, this is just magnetic. If you pop this cover off, up inside here you'll see a switch. So how often are you going to be running plates? Every day?
No, like
Every week?
2, so like there are probably 2
2 times
classes
a-
that we would
that's
do, so 3-hour days 2 times a week.
Do you know what days?
Tuesday, not Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and possibly Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 days.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because as long as there's finisher, which is in the bottle that's up underneath there, if you look up under here, there's a clear bottle of fluid.
Yep.
As long as there's gum in there, then this machine needs to be left on.
Okay.
So usually the way it works, if people work Monday through Friday, what we normally do is have that machine on Monday through Friday, and at the end of the day, Friday, they remove that finishing bottle with gum. They put warm water in there, and then there's a setting here, and we're going to go over that then, where you change this number here to number 4, and it does a process where it's actually running warm water through the system, because that gum gets on those rollers and it'll stick together, and you could break gears and all. So you want to do that once a week. So that's why I'm trying to figure out, because you guys have a kind of a unique situation here. So you'd want to leave it on maybe all week, from Tuesday to Sunday.
We could do it Monday, turn it off, because we won't have classes, we won't need it for Tuesday.
Okay, but before you shut it off,
Right.
I would do it at the end of the day Sunday then. Do that cleanup procedure, and we'll go over that then. Okay? But I just wanted to give you an idea of what you're going to be looking at here. And this is just magnetic. It sits on there. Okay. So this unit here is your actual printer. I'm going to go over some things with you. If you come over here, you're going to notice that you have covers here. And inside here, you're going to look, and this says liquid dot on these two. And all the rest of them say maintenance fluid. And these 4 over here say maintenance fluid. The reason is the machine needs to have cartridges in it all the time. So whenever they need replaced, it will tell you that they need to be replaced. And this procedure is in the PDF for the operation of the machine. And to replace one, you would lift this lock lever to unlock. And that unlocks all 4 of these. So say this one is the one that's telling you need to replace. You would then slide it out, put the new one in, and then lock it again. Okay? And it will show you here. So it's going to come up then. There you go. And that's showing the levels right now. Those little blocks are for each of the cartridges. There should be 8 there. Okay? Now you also see a 9th one down at the end. That's for a maintenance cartridge. That's this right here. So you watch, that's showing how good it is there. And if you pull this out, this is where it spits the fluid into. Eventually this will get so full, and it has a chip on it, which it'll tell you it needs to be replaced. So you want to keep a spare on hand, and you also want to keep spares of your liquid dot and your maintenance fluid cartridges. That way, if they run out, you're not down. You can still run. Now, the purpose of the lower level here is for baking the plate, like I told you. That's so that you get more impressions off of the plate. How many impressions are you going to run with your press? How many times are you going to make a copy over top of the plate? See, I'm used to offset printing presses where people were doing, say, 5,000, 50,000, 100,000 impressions, where you guys are just going to be doing, what, 1, 2, 10, 20?
Oh, you mean the baking
The actual
edition
printing,
of it?
yeah.
Probably 5 to 10.
Oh,
10
my.
is the
Each
maximum.
one, yeah.
I got to be honest with you.
Right.
You probably wouldn't even need to bake them then.
We don't?
Well, I would anyhow, but just because of the number of impressions that you're making, I'm used to people doing thousands.
No,
I know
there's no
that
way.
this
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah. So because of that, now you could try it. I'm just not. I don't know how long it would last, but you could try it with a plate and see how many. If that works fine. But otherwise, you would want to use this. Okay.
How do we stop using that one?
The only way you could stop using it is if you wouldn't have to turn it on, and you wouldn't have gum in here. Because you don't want gum in there, and you want to always end, whenever this machine, the lower section is shut off, you want to always make sure that there's warm water in there, and you go through the 10-minute cleanup procedure. And I'll tell you why. There's 2 rollers in there, and the gum is being spit down in between the 2 rollers. So it's coating those, so that way when a plate comes through, it puts an even layer of gum on the plate. So then that gum is on the plate when it comes out, but those rollers have gum on it. And if those rollers, like even when this machine's on and this one's on, it'll cycle itself every so often so that those rollers don't stick together. We had one guy, he shut it off over the weekend. He didn't run the cleanup procedure. And when he started up on Monday, those rollers would not turn every 30 minutes because he shut it off. And they stuck together, so when he kicked it on, it went to kick them on and it broke the gears because of the rollers were sticking together. So whenever you're going to shut this lower section down, always make sure you go through the cleanup procedure with the warm water, and I'll show you. We'll go through that then.
Okay,
I'll show you how to do it.
So there's a question. So if we don't bake the plate, we don't have to use the gum rolling tool?
You wouldn't have to then, but I'm not sure yet if that would work for you or not.
We'll go through the differences.
You'd have, you may have to see if it'll work because
I mean, we can apply the gums manually. That's what we do. So once you, but then I want to know the ink we're using, is it permanent ink or?
No, it's actually a special fluid, and they put a dye in it so you can see it because it's normally clear.
I don't think it'll work then.
It may or may not. It may still have to be baked first. And the only gum you want to use is what you have there, the stuff that they give you from Glenn's and Jensen. Yeah, it says finisher, but that's actually gum.
Pure gum.
But you want to use that one only. If you use any other gums that you guys were using, it'll affect the image on the plate. Yeah. Okay, so basically you want to have spare liquid dot and spare maintenance maintenance fluid and also a spare maintenance tank. Okay, and your salesman will have part numbers for all that stuff. Okay, all right. Also, you're going to want to know how to do a nozzle check. So I'm just going to take this a piece of paper here. I ran one this morning. This is what it looks like. But this tells you if there's any problems. You'll see like little white spots in here if any of the nozzles are not firing properly. You want them to all look good like this looks. Okay? So they should all look good. There's no breaks there at all in those lines. Now, all this that I'm going over is in the PDFs and in the instruction guides. It's on the computer, or you can print them out if you want. So to actually load a plate, instead of wasting a plate, I'm using a piece of paper. So all you're going to do is keep it against these registration rollers here, and there's a white sensor there. Okay, so you're going to keep it against there, and it's a little hard with the thinner paper, but as long as it should get it into a point and take it. Pull it back out because it's saying press the pause button. It's resetting itself. So as soon as this says ready, we want to do that again. And this is how you would normally load a plate. So right now the display shows ready, and then we'll do this. It's because I put it in and pulled it out. So now it should take this in, and you can see it pulling it in. So now all it's going to do is get itself ready, and then I'm going to show you how to do a nozzle check. We did press no button at all. It just said ready here, and because that switch was satisfied, it started to take it in. So it should come up to ready here real shortly. Okay, now it says ready. So the way you would run a nozzle check is you hit menu, you hit the down arrow until it says test print, then you're going to hit menu, and it says nozzle check. You're going to hit menu again, and it says do you want to print it? And I'm going to hit it again to print. So now it's going to print it out. And then what we're going to get is what you see on this sheet.
Are you doing it every time you print?
I would do it before you're going to print. So Tuesday before you print and whatever other days.
Yeah.
You want to, because if this doesn't look good, your plate's not going to come out good.
Okay, so we want to nozzle check every week.
I would every day before I print.
Okay, every day before.
Yeah, and you can just use paper. That way you're not wasting a plate. And you want to just see that there's no breaks in any lines. If there is, then you would have to do a cleaning.
That's right.
And I can show you how to do that then as well.
Very similar to the regular
Inkjet.
printer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. This is an
inkjet.
inkjet printer that has been modified to run their fluid. They've changed the firmware, the software, everything in it to make it work. And these actually work really well. Something you're going to want to schedule, though, is a yearly maintenance. They have a yearly maintenance kit where a service tech comes in, and I replace items that get soiled and wore inside. And it's like a kit you buy, and then I come in once a year. So you'd want to schedule that a year from today. And
So what you just did is printing on a paper. You didn't bake it at all, right?
No. You don't need to bake this because we're not going to actually print this.
That's right. But
And
we
you
can't
would
do
not.
polyester
Don't ever
paper,
stick.
I see.
Dude, don't ever stick paper in there because there's heat
It's
lamps.
gonna-
It'll just burn
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't
the
wanna do that.
Thing is that you know about this